So there are sheets over here. You grab one of those, grab a pen. That way you can follow along, fill in the blanks. So talking about stage presence. And this is just something that's not just for the singer, but for the musician as well. Since you're the only musician here, I'm talking to Caitlin, I suppose. You'll be the representative of the musicians, okay? So you can fill them in. So Jesus says in Matthew 22, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and strength, which is basically your body, right? All those things are encompassed in your body. Romans 12:2 says that we are to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice. So, how can we use our bodies as a tool to worship God and as a tool to lead others in worship? So, 7% of our words make up our communication. 7%. I know, right? But the rest of our body, the rest is all body language, verbal inflection, facial expression, posture. Our words are weak if they're not accompanied by the proper body language. Our body language communicates much louder than our words do, and that's why I put a lot of emphasis on that a couple weeks ago. We don't want to tell a lie with what we're singing about, because our body gives away what we really are thinking about what we're singing, so or what we're saying. So as worship leaders, it matters that we care about our stage presence and use our bodies to help people worship Jesus. Okay, so number one, there's about 7 things here. I wrote 8 at the top, but I think there's 7 that we need to. There's about, I guess, 7 things for tips for stage presence. First thing we need to do is to be aware. Be aware. What's going on with your body, your hands, your facial expressions, your body movement. Examples might be like if you rock in a weird way, not knowing it, or you do something weird with your hands. There's different people who might kind of like this. Their eyes are closed, but they don't know it. Might look a little weird, or kind of like that. There's all kinds of weird things that you can see out there.
I'll open my eyes, and I'm always. Like, if I'm worshiping, I open hands, I'm always sideways.
So how did I get
How
here?
it happens every Sunday I sing. I open my eyes, and I'm, like, facing the wall over here. And I'm like, crap, that's so embarrassing.
We're drawing you.
Exactly.
It's bizarre.
So we want to be aware of that kind of stuff. We want to make sure that our words are matching up with our expression. The next thing is smile more. This is not number 2, but this is just the next thing under be aware. Be aware that you're smiling. If you're a musician, smile. Even at rehearsals, smiling makes a difference. One, because you're practicing smiling, so the more you do it, the more you'll realize that you are doing it without thinking about it. That's what I mean to say. And I would say that it also makes an effect on your attitude when you're at rehearsal. So you've all probably come across the person who had the bad attitude coming into rehearsal, and whatever it was, it showed all over them, and it just kind of made it for a tense environment right away. And everyone's kind of like on eggshells, and you're saying, man, what's wrong with them? Everything was great, and they came in the room, it was like joy kill. So I think that if we have a habit of practicing smiling, even at rehearsals, those things will happen less. And even if that person, and it could be one of us when we come in and it's just been a rough day, remember, I'm just going to smile, and by the end of it, hopefully it'll lift our countenance and our feeling in whatever that moment is out, and we can release that. So just remembering to smile. A lot of people think they're smiling, but if you were to look in the mirror, and you say, I'm smiling, or watch yourself on videotape, no. 9 times out of 10 you don't, even though you think you do, because I watched myself do it, and I said, what was I doing in that? That looks completely ridiculous. So to remember to do that. Our stage presence is so important that you might want to excuse yourself until you can get that under control. If you just got a bad attitude or things or whatever, you may want to think about that because I think it affects not only everyone else on the platform, but affects everyone else in the church. Sing, even if you're not a singer. That really is for musicians. If you're on a vocal break, meaning that you're not up to sing the next line or something like that, continue singing along. You don't have to have the mic up near your mouth, but just continue singing off. They call it off mic. So you can put your mic down at your side or something like that. But keep singing, because what it says is that you're still engaged. You're not on a break or anything like that. But it shows everybody that you're still engaged. Everyone on stage should sing. It will help you as a musician to be engaged. It shows that we're all up there to worship Jesus. Sing as you are able. In the video I'll show you a little bit later, it doesn't mean that you sing all the time. It just means that you're engaged, and every once in a while you might sing a lyric as you're able to. That kind of thing. So,
there's something wrong with the donuts.
I don't know.
He keeps
I'm
reaching
trying to
for them
find
and then
one.
putting them back. I'm like, just eat
Ones
one.
that come to the top.
just dump it on the plate or something like that.
No, I was trying to find one that have all the coating on it.
I don't even know if there are one of
Is
those.
all the coating.
I don't think there's any of those.
Like a glaze?
No, I try not to eat anything sweet until after dinner.
After you tear up a 2-foot, hoagie or something.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to find anything not sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Probably not.
Yeah, I know.
There's some chips over there, too, if you're hungry.
I'm good.
All right, I'll move it along here. Number 2, be confident. Let's be confident. The only way to really overcome that is to be prepared so that you're not nervous. Spending time, make sure you know your material. Only way to get over nervousness is to be prepared. Know your music. Memorize as much as you can so you can lift your head up and not be stuck to the screen or be stuck to a music stand, that kind of stuff. Do as much as you can to memorize. Eventually, it'll become easier and easier the more that you do it. Listening to different people who do this on a huge scale, there's just no way around it. That's the only way. You look at these people on the platform, and they've got like 100 musicians around, and so many of the guitar players and everybody else. It's just memorized. You don't walk up there with any cheats. Although if you go to a live concert and you walk up on the stage, you will see some cheats on the floor. Like I've seen creative stuff, like some stuff on a little monitor, like a floor wedge. You won't see it on your side, but if you walk up on stage, you see it. Or they'll tape down a list to the floor. It's kind of funny. But the only way to get over nervousness is to just be prepared. Be confident when you walk in. Be yourself and be authentic. People can see inauthenticity faster than anything else. So just be real. If you want to cry on the platform, you can cry. If you want to shout, shout. It's also okay to be mellow. That's not a sin. But do it in a way that's true to you. Not everybody's going to jump around the platform like me, but move somehow. Creative movement that's true to you. Don't try and be someone else. Just do what you do in some fashion. So find your own stage presence style. And number 3 is be an example. Our congregation is a reflection of our leadership. If we're bored, unengaged, and passionless, why would we expect them to do anything different or be anything different? We help the congregation engage when we show them how to worship. As a band member, as a vocalist, tech crew, we can lift our hands, we close our eyes, sing out with passion, we fall on our knees when it's appropriate. If you watch like Hillsong's Bethel Church or Jesus Culture, all those churches, their churches worship hardcore. I mean, like you watch them on video, go to any of their services. It's not just the band and the singers that makes that experience. It's everyone else around you that makes that experience. But that's a result of their leadership. That's what happens on the platform. They've created that culture there for people to just go after God. So it's got to start with us from the platform. And it's hard to do because it's lonely at the top. They say when leadership is lonely at the top because you're leading. So you may have people behind you or following, but you're up in front. And that's kind of hard to say, I'm just going to do that and take my chances of whatever that looks like or feels like. I remember at Valley Forge, I don't know what year it was, but one of the worship leaders was leading in service, and he just started jumping around on the platform. It's a guy that I respected. I'd never seen that side of him before, and it just was an incredible freedom for me and released me to do the same. And we just started going crazy that worship service. But had he not done that, it probably would have been the same old experience for a lot of us. But it starts there. We have to lead. We have to be out in front. These groups are leading by example on how to worship God, and they're using their bodies to lead people rather than a distraction to dissuade people. That's why those congregations worship so passionately, because their leaders worship passionately. Number 4, be obedient to the scriptures. The Hillsong's people are helping their people see what it's like to be obedient to Scripture. There are actual commands given in the Bible. We have to sing to the Lord. We have that sing to the Lord command down pretty well, but that's pretty much the extent of our obedience in most churches. That's the easy thing to do. That's the comfortable thing to do, because that's what you're supposed to do. Is you're supposed to sing. It's singing time. But I don't know that we've done a really good job at pastoring the congregation beyond that expression. And I think we have to get beyond that singular expression to show people that, hey, the Bible says to shout out loud when you worship God. So sing to God a new song. Clap your hands, all you people. Dance before the Lord. All these different creative expressions, but we just pretty much pick one because it's comfortable and, it's easy. It's easy to do, But we have to do a better job at pastoring the church in those different expressions, being obedient. Number 5, be engaged. Be engaged. This is a hard one, too, because you often get in your head of thinking about, well, what's that person thinking down in the front? Or, you have these whole commentaries in your head about whatever's happening, or you saw somebody pick their nose or whatever it is. It tends to psych us out, and we kind of get distracted, and so it's easier to just close our eyes. I'm just going to focus on the Lord. I'm just going to get shut in with the Lord. But we can't do that as much because we're leading. We have to be very careful about just closing our eyes into our worship bubble, because we have to stay engaged with the room. If we're into it, the congregation will be into it. So when I'm out and when I'm looking to engage, the first thing I started doing recently was to make sure that I'm out before service and try and shake a few hands and talk to a couple people. Because that helps me get to know their story, their morning, and it takes that what are they thinking when I'm on the platform thing out of my head. I don't get self-conscious about that. So I've already had the awkward moment by having conversation with them beforehand. And then secondly, I make sure that I don't necessarily have to look them in the eye as much, but I'm looking on the horizontal plane, and I'm looking kind of at their foreheads or slightly over the head, which makes it look like I'm looking at them, but I'm not really doing that. And then it also helps me get some of my words off the screen if I need them, and so on. But it's a way to kind of stay engaged. Another cool thing about that when we're looking out is that hopefully we'll see pockets of people worshiping, and it'll encourage you as you worship. The biggest thing that chokes me up every time is when I see people come to the altar in the middle of worship. I can't watch that because I start crying. Like, I don't know where it's at, where it comes from, but it always happens. And when I see people start responding, so I have to look up or something like that, but it always encourages you that you're on the right track and you're right where the Lord needs you to be. One of the cool things about staying engaged is when you're engaged, you tend to find the connection point of the music. So as we're out here singing, we find that groove. You can tell when I found it, when I start bopping my head. Matt always makes fun of me about the he's like, yeah, I know you were in that groove today because you had the head bop going and everything like that. That helps part of the process of staying engaged, and it says to the congregation, yeah, it's all right. It's fitting. I'm just going after God today. This is great, So we're staying engaged with that. Number 6, be in control. Use your body to lead the room. Don't just close your eyes and go into your worship bubble where it's you and the Lord. We're leaders, so use your body to lead. When you sing a new verse, lean into the mic. Like whenever I tell one of you who's singing out or something like that, actually lean into it. So an example might be if I'm singing, I take a big breath and I'm getting ready to start the verse, I'm going to go literally lean forward into that moment. It helps to say who the focal person is, who's in control of the room, who should I be listening to, that kind of stuff. If we've just finished and now it's the instrumental section, take a step backwards, kind of lean off of the camera or lean back or something like that. Say, okay, well, we're gonna clap our hands, we're gonna step back a little bit, so now we know that there's something else that's happening there. It's how we lead with our bodies. Number 6, or did I do that one already? Yeah, it's be in control. Number 7, don't be, okay, the rest were do's or be's, doobies, F and G. Don't be a distraction. Worship leading is about keeping the room's attention on Jesus. It's the art of removing distractions. So they would be, don't wear clothing that could be a distraction. It's kind of funny. One of the things is don't wear clothing that everyone else in the room is a rival of your favorite team, that everyone else in the room is the rival to that team. So don't go into a worship environment wearing some kind of Eagles jersey at a Browns room or something like that. Again, don't want to be a distraction. That could possibly be a distraction. Short dresses in our clothing, low-cut shirts, deep necklines, clothing that's too tight. Your dress and movement can help or hurt the experience. Don't do things that will be a distraction. So what I'm really saying can all be summed up in 3 things. Sing. That's on your sheet too. Maybe on the back.
On the back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Hannah. So sing, move, and be genuine. Deuteronomy 10:8 outlines our Levitical responsibility as the following. Number 1, to minister to the Lord first and foremost. In that regard, we do really have an audience of 1. Number 2, carry the presence of God. We carry His presence when we're on the platform, when we're leading people, and that's a pretty big responsibility. If you think about the people who carried His presence in the Old Testament, what happened when they didn't do it the way He wanted it done? They reached out, touched the ark, and died on the moment. So it's pretty serious. Thankfully we've got Jesus, and it may not be that severe, but we take it with that seriousness that we carry the presence. Number 3, did I do number 3 yet?
No, that was 2.
Bless the people. It's about God, His presence, and blessing the people. It's not about our own agenda. It's not about blessing ourselves. Everything we do is about blessing the people. So as leaders, we minister in 2 directions. Sometimes our expression of worship, it honors God, but doesn't necessarily engage the people. I realize that sometimes I think it's trial and error when I have like a song. Oh man, I love this song. We're gonna do this song. We're gonna rock out. We're gonna jam. It's gonna be great. And while that honors the Lord, if it doesn't connect with people and it doesn't help people to find an experience with Him, well then it's just honoring God. That's only half of our job. So we're constantly testing the waters to say, all right, does this help people engage in worship? So you know that we have some of our go-to songs that our church instantly connects with.
Yeah.
Like you could be in 3 different keys trying to play the same song with the wrong rhythm. Like, it does not matter.
Great I Am.
Yeah, they will worship to that, and they don't care. So, it's important that we help our congregation to engage. For us as worship leaders, it's a two-way, busy intersection. We have our responsibility to God, and we have our responsibility to the congregation. It's going both ways, and our job is to not hinder either direction. We don't want to be a hindrance in any way. So above all, I want to challenge you to ask the Lord for creativity to help you with your outward expression of worship. Sometimes we struggle with that, only to find out that we need a heart check. It can seem overwhelming, unnatural, but once you get the mechanics of it, the balance of engaging the congregation and just worshiping the Lord will equal out. The mechanics are the hard part of it. It was difficult starting out in worship, leading worship, singing, and playing the piano at the same time. But once you figure out the mechanics of it, everything else will flow into place. And that's kind of what we want to do. So 1 Peter 2:9, but you are not like that, for you're a chosen people, a royal priest, a holy nation, God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for He has called you out of darkness into the wonderful, wonderful light. We can show people. How do we show? Well, it's been about stage presence, so with our bodies, we can point people to God in all that we do. It's not about just our vocals, but it's about everything else that we communicate.
While worshiping. Many times, facial expressions can communicate the wrong message to the congregation. Your face may be saying something different than what your heart is saying. Sometimes we may come across as looking mad or angry. We may be in a serious moment and focused on the Lord, and we do not realize that our facial expression has become tensed. Remember to relax your facial muscles. Most of the time, you should have a pleasant look on your face or even a full-on smile. Smile, but don't look like you're trying to smile. It may look like your smile is forced. Smiling is wonderful, but if you plaster it on and it never changes, it doesn't look real. You must be careful to always make sure that your eyes are open and alert. However, there is a point when being too alert can look forced or overly dramatic. Here you can see a good example of what your eyes look like when you are squinting or are not opening your eyes enough. This is a natural facial expression when showing you are trying to concentrate on the Lord, but it appears as closed off and distant from the congregation. At the other extreme, many will open their eyes too wide and overcompensate in their actions. This appears as being very forced and not genuine. The best way to make sure that you don't appear bored, tired, dramatic, or contrived is to simply worship from your heart. Let what you feel on the inside be displayed on the outside.
One of our most common tendencies is keeping our eyes closed for too long. This can be very challenging as it's a natural expression during worship, but we really have to work on it because this too makes us seem closed off and distant from the congregation. The best solution is to simply open your eyes while you worship. You can close them some, but don't keep them closed for long periods of time. If video cameras are used during a service and you can see yourself on the screen, make every effort not to look at yourself on the screen. And especially be sure not to change the way you are expressing worship just because now you know you're on the screen projected for the whole congregation to see. Although it can be distracting, try your best not to look.
When it comes to platform presence, just be yourself. The important thing is just allowing what God's doing on the inside to come out for others to see.
Because our eyes are such strong tools in engaging the congregation, line of sight becomes important in platform presence. It's important to make sure that there's a good balance between making eye contact and looking over the congregation. The best way to handle this is to make eye contact when we first come onto the platform. Think of yourself as a host welcoming the congregation and helping them to feel comfortable. There are 3 places that you can put your eyes when you're leading worship. The first is the horizon line. Look right above the congregation's head. Most people will think that you're looking at them or that your eyes are somewhere along the congregation or towards the Lord. The second place is to look at the congregation. It's important that we look at the congregation now and then in order to engage them. But while we're worshiping, if we make strong eye contact and keep it for too long, it begins to look like we're singing at people rather than leading them to sing for the Lord. The third place is to lift our eyes to the Lord. This is an appropriate place to put our eyes when we're worshiping. But we also have to be aware that if we look up for too long, we disengage with the congregation. So look up towards the Lord, but bring your eyes back to them again. Many times, instrumentalists look down too much while they're playing. Because of this, you appear sad or depressed or disengaged with the congregation. We encourage you as an instrumentalist to also engage the congregation and engage the Lord with your eyes. It's important that when we're playing instruments, we look up as much as possible. Vocalists, on the other hand, will keep their eyes up for too long. As a vocalist, we have to remember to bring our eyes back to the people that we're trying to lead towards the Lord.
Honestly, I don't think people really care that you're on the stage. We're not there for them to look at us, we're there for them to look at the Lord. And so everything that we're doing needs to direct them to the Lord, direct them to His presence, direct them to His face. Because if we're a distraction, it's going to distract them from worshiping and from really receiving from what the Lord has. Sometimes there's like this glazed over look of like, I can tell when people know people are watching them. Don't do that. Just be so enthralled in who God is, and you worship unabandoned, and then people will be drawn to that and worship, and they'll be engaged by you just being lost in worship. You should always remember to keep your shoulders in a comfortable position. This does not mean slouched, because this gives the appearance of boredom and tiredness. Also, you shouldn't keep your shoulders too far back, because this gives an appearance of arrogance. Here you can see a demonstration of comfortable shoulders. They are not too far forward or too far back, but they look comfortable.
As an instrumentalist, your body language also speaks to the congregation. If you're on a guitar, as we mentioned, it's important not to be looking down the whole time, but also to pay attention to your posture and your general body language as it conveys worship to the congregation. On the keyboards as well, while it can be difficult to look up from the instrument or to move around while playing, it is important to make an effort. For drummers, oftentimes as you play, you can appear stiff and stagnant. At the same time, you don't want to go to the opposite extreme, where you become overly expressive and come across as forced or not genuine. The best balance for all of these situations is simply to genuinely worship the Lord in a way that is conducive for worship.
When standing on the platform, it is important to stand with your weight evenly distributed on both feet or with your weight on your front foot. In this example, this person is leaning too far back and appears disengaged from the congregation. Continue to keep your shoulders back but bend at the waist and the knees. It is okay to stand straight with your shoulders back and head held high as a deep expression of worship, but you cannot stay there. By putting your weight on your front foot instead of your back foot, you look more natural and become more engaged with the congregation. It is also very important to remember to lean forward. It may seem weird at first, but it will become natural and help you visually lead the congregation. Remember, you are taking the congregation somewhere. Go there together. Many people may be completely comfortable on the platform, but are unsure what to do with their hands. They can look stiff because they keep their arm bent in close to their body and make a fist. This sends a signal of being closed off. It is important to relax your arms and hands. You can give sharp, strong gestures, but never keep yourself in any one position. Remember to never point at the congregation while singing or playing, and do not revert to always keeping your hand over your heart. Lifting your hands is always a great expression of worship. While playing or singing on platform, there are many times that as worshipers we feel the urge to do more than just stand and sing or play. This is often the Holy Spirit encouraging us to express our worship to the Lord through postures outlined in the Bible. You may feel led to kneel, bow, lay prostrate, jump up and down, or even dance around the platform. These are all biblical terms of worship and are more than welcome on the platform. However, we must remember to always do these as an expression of praise to the Lord and never as a ritual or to bring attention to ourselves. When someone is addressing the congregation, you should never put your hands in your pockets or on your hips. Keeping your hands at your side is a great option, or you can clasp your hands in front of you, holding your microphone.
When someone is addressing the congregation from the platform and you're on an instrument, remember that you too should stay engaged. Position your hands in a way that show that you are listening to the person and eager to receive what they are saying. Acknowledge what they are saying by listening closely and agreeing with them when appropriate. As we mentioned before, keep your focus on the back of the head of the person to show that you are listening to what they are saying. This is not the time to make adjustments to your instruments or to be distracted by anything else. Keep your focus on the person who is speaking to help inspire the congregation to do the same.
I believe that when a person's on the platform, when they're part of a team leading worship, and even when they're in the congregation, that the posture of our body should reflect the posture of our hearts towards God. God has given us an example of this. He demonstrated the posture of His heart towards us when He sent His Son to die on the cross for us. That was very physical. It was a physical expression of love. He didn't just speak love, He showed us love. While we're on the platform, we're physically expressing our love for God. When I raise my hands, I'm demonstrating the posture of my heart towards the Lord. The posture of my heart may be that I'm praising Him, or I'm receiving from Him, or I'm honoring Him, or I'm surrendering to Him. All those things can be spoken with my body through bowing or clapping or raising my hands. Even the way that I move my feet or the expression of my face is a demonstration of the posture of my heart towards God. What I really want to be is genuine before Him, not only with my words and not only with my heart, not only with the focus of my mind, but with my strength, which includes my physical being and the way I'm behaving before Him.
Many times on the platform, the worship team will begin to look stagnant. This is usually because they are not moving enough, and it comes across as there being a lack of energy on the platform. This can create an atmosphere where it is difficult for the people to follow you in worship. This is usually because of one of the following three things. It's new for you, and you may be uncomfortable with a lot of movement. You're worried about what others will think of you. You didn't know the benefits or importance of movement on the platform. The solution to the problem is very simple. Begin to move on the platform. Always make sure you do it to the beat of the music, you do it in time with the music, and you do it in a way that's appropriate. If it's new for you, the way to get comfortable is just to begin moving. It's also important for you to use your space on the platform. To do this, just begin to walk around. Walk forward, backward, and side to side. Vocalists, if you sing a few lines without moving forward or backward, you're probably beginning to look stagnant. Remember, keep movement on the platform. Keep it interesting, keep the congregation engaged. Instrumentalist, if you're singing on a microphone, when you're done singing your part, make sure you make the most of your space by moving around. If you're an instrumentalist who is not on a microphone, make sure to use your space as well. Keep your movements simple, but always appropriate.
When I'm on the platform during a worship service, I feel like I'm worshiping the Lord with my whole heart, that I'm expressing worship, and that the congregation can see that. What I like to do is go back and watch videos of worship services and see if what I think I'm expressing is coming across to the congregation visually. What I want to make sure of is that what I feel on the inside and what the congregation sees matches. I don't want to be a hypocrite where what I think I'm doing, I'm not actually doing. So what I always try to concentrate on is that my expression outwardly to the Lord matches the way that I feel about Him on the inside.
It's important for every vocalist to be aware of how you're holding the microphone and where you're placing it in front of you. There are right and wrong ways to hold the microphone. You may not want to hold the microphone too tightly because it looks like you're intimidated and uncomfortable with the situation. Then there's the death grip. This looks like you're nervous, but it's also so intensely focused on the microphone that you're completely uncomfortable. There is also another version of the death grip called the double-fisted death grip. It has the same feeling as a death grip, however, both hands are on the microphone, so you completely close yourself off from the congregation and begin to block your face and body. The proper way to hold the microphone is in the middle of the microphone stem with a comfortable, light grip. It is also very important to hold the microphone at the right distance and angle. If you hold it straight up or straight in front of your face, This can cause you to have to tilt your head up and cover your mouth too much. It's best to hold your microphone at a 45-degree downward angle. This is the best visually and is best for picking up your voice through the microphone. Many times, vocalists will also keep the microphone in front of their mouths when they're not singing. This causes you to look stagnant and the microphone becomes a barrier or a prop. The best way to fix this problem is that as soon as you finish a line or anytime there is a break, pull the microphone away, even if it's only for a few seconds. This will help you stay open to the people.
If you're using in-ear monitors, make sure you tuck the cord in tight behind your head so that the cord does not show from a front angle off the side of your face. If possible, try to tuck the cord into your shirt so that the cord does not become caught on any other equipment or dangle out behind you. If you're only using one in-ear monitor, try to discreetly hide the other in-ear monitor in your collar or behind you. If you need to remove one in-ear monitor at times for reference to the congregation or for ambient sound, try pulling the in-ear monitor out of your ear just a little bit so it doesn't become unwrapped from your ear so you can easily insert it back in. Or pull it out and try placing it on your shoulder or on the front of your shirt. Again, if you're only using one in-ear monitor, make sure that this in-ear is tucked away and out of sight.
Dress code varies from service to service. Our goal is to dress in a way that would be very well received by all who attend so that we can lead them in worship without distractions. There are many guidelines for casual and dressy attire, and obviously there is a great deal of variation within these guidelines. Overall, make sure you look presentable. A good rule to go by is when in doubt, do without. If you're trying to decide whether to dress nicer or more casual, always go with the more presentable option. Check with the leaders for each service or the online calendar for specific guidelines on dress code.
Most of all, it's very important that you always review yourself on the platform. Watch a video of yourself and assess whether the way you look is the way that you think you're presenting yourself. Many times, just by simply watching ourselves, we'll find that we close our eyes too much or for too long, or that we're not engaging the congregation as often as we should. It may feel uncomfortable and strange the first couple of times, but it truly will help you grow and learn.